Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of Ways Breakfast. It's a beautiful Friday morning, and this is Ways Breakfast. Hashtag What Are You Saying? I am your anchor for today. My name is Oluchi Omenka, and it's a great privilege, as always, to be here. I came with the full squad. I came with my ladies. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good.
Deep psych.
How have you been? How's this week been? I mean, this is the end of the week. What's your plan for the weekend? Let me start with that one. I'm always asking how the week has been. Now I want to know what your plan for the weekend is.
Oh yeah, no, you like weekend every time, so let's
Okay.
I used to be a fan of weekend, but I think at the moment I'm not gassed up the way I
Okay.
used to be because I realized that a lot is changing about me lately, and it's
Really?
because of the type of people I'm surrounded with. So I'm seeing it as, oh, this is too much negative vibes, and I really do not like it because it's changing me, it's changing my type of person, and I call people names, and I'll say things I usually don't do before.
Wow.
So I'm struggling with balancing that thing, like shaking it off and like being a better version of myself. So I think it's stressing me out, and I'm not gassed about the weekend at the moment.
Oh, that's
I feel like that happens a lot. So if I'm to actually share an advice, I think it would be don't allow other people, whatever character, perspective, opinion get to you.
Right.
That's the only way you can actually strive. Trust me when I say anything anybody thinks about me, that's on you, bro.
There's this word
I care
be-
less.
There's this word I believe so strongly, how that you can have contact with people with no contamination.
God
Do you
bless
get
you.
it? So I know you must be going through a whole lot, right? But you're helped. Amen.
Amen.
So God's beauty, what's your plan for the weekend?
I mean,
With this your latches that is looking like
Wahala.
this.
I want to even change it, Jerry. I feel
So,
like it's
Where are you
getting
going
old
to?
already. I think I should have. I have like a couple of scripts to take care of. So literally, it's not even funny because I don't even have a laptop yet. So it's a bit stressful having to use my phone to do the editing, having to use my phone to only one go think the story, only one go write a day one side, put me one side, and I have to start arranging and all
lot
of
of
that.
things
So
to do.
it's a lot of work. So I'm very sure I'm going to be using all my tomorrow on that, and I
Okay.
would literally not have enough time for Mama, which she would not like. Then I think my Sunday, I mean, no more go to church, come back, but I think I also have like a program to take care of. Probably a co-host kind of thing. Yeah.
This weekend, I am going to just be with my books. The way I'm going to read like this, you people are not ready. You
miss that
people
kind of
are not
life.
ready. I'm going to be with my books
my
and
God.
face academic stuff. I'd like to give a very special shout out to a very beautiful friend of mine. Her name is Temitope Adejare. Today is your birthday. I love you so much. I'm doing this today because I promised I was going to do it. So happy birthday to you. Welcome to your best year yet.
Happy birthday to me, Tokwe.
They
We wish
love
the
you
very
already.
best.
Happy
All
birthday,
right,
my
Happy
ladies
love.
and
birthday.
gentlemen, we'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll look through the Nigerian newspapers. Stay with us, we'll be right back. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's still Ways Breakfast, hashtag what are you saying? And right now, we want to look through the Nigerian newspapers, starting with The Punch. The major headline reads, Tinubu rallies NSA, monarchs as hunger protest looms. President meets APC governors, Oni, Sultan, clerics as planned protest gains momentum. Opposition charges Tinubu to address Nigerians, Army, DSS alleged plot to foreign regime change. And below that, we see factional kingmakers oppose fresh Alafin selection process. police station rape. NGOs condemn pace of investigation. Lagos begins probe as 5 killed in building collapse. And above that, we see 16 more state-owned schools get student loan approval. Tinubu may sign 70,000 minimum wage. 70,000 naira minimum wage bill next week. Probe, National Assembly summons NNPC Dangote over 10 billion naira oil theft. President governors mourn as Ohameze leader Iwunayanwu dies. Did I pronounce that right? Iwunayanwu dies. All right. So I'll read the hunger protest story. The full detail says President Bola Tinubu on Thursday held emergency meetings with the All Progressive Congress state governors, prominent traditional rulers, and ulamas, that's Islamic religious scholars, at the Aso Rock Villa, Abuja, as part of effort by the government to ensure that the planned hunger protest slated for August 1st to 10th is averted nationwide. The meetings come after growing calls for the anti-hunger protest following widespread economic hardship in the country. The protests, which are being organized under the hashtag End Bad Governance, have gained significant traction on social media, even as the organizers remain unknown, with no group officially claiming responsibility. And that is what we have. Wow, wow. What do you guys think about this looming strike? Do you think it's a good approach and you think it promises to bring any change, or?
I'd like to talk about the same story. I think this is coming after Kenya's protest.
Yes.
And Nigerians have witnessed a protest rather in 2020. So I think this is like a rebound. This is like a revolution now. We want to do this. We've learned from Kenya. Kenya's leaders succumbed to their protest. So I think we're ready. So the Oro thing, the don't come out thing, the DSS thing, because my own major story, let me just go straight into the Guardian newspaper.
Okay.
The major headline says, region citizens languish amid proliferation of political SPVs. Then right under it, planned protest, military warns against violence as DSS reviews plot to cause chaos. Right under it, the story here reads, federal government lost 10 billion naira to oil theft, vandalism in 7 months. World Hepatitis Day hopes deems for 2023 elimination target for deadly win. At the side corner of the Guardian newspaper, Nigeria's petrol imports from Malta surged by 342% to $2.08 billion. From the minimum wage, TUC insists on May 1, 2024 dates for new minimum wage. The NCS intercepts 7 containers of codeine syrup worth over 11 billion naira. And the major headline for me is on the planned protest.
Yeah.
Military warns against violence as DSS reviews plots to cause chaos. The defense headquarters yesterday said intelligence revealed that some unscrupulous elements are bent on hijacking the planned nationwide protest for violent purposes. It affirmed, based on the foregoing, the level of violence envisaged is best described as a state of anarchy. For this reason, the armed forces will not watch and allow the nation to spiral out of control to such low levels. The Director of Defense Operation, Major General Edward Buba, disclosed this at a briefing yesterday. And I am I don't want to use the word livid or pissed, but what do they take us for, actually? You're telling us some people are bent on scattering the protest. Who are the people? Okay, intelligence report. There's no one person or like a group of persons that say, okay, we are the front line, we are the one leading this protest. This is just everybody coming together to decide on this. But yeah, you already said there's going to be a 15 days oral. Like, this is not evil forest, or we're not trying to cleanse. We're not trying to cleanse Nigeria from bad luck or from poverty. So I do not understand the 15 days oral that we intend to. This is not a Korodu. This is the entire Lagos state, right? This is not Magboro, part of Lagos, of Ogun State, rather. So then Wike is saying something in Abuja, okay, we don't want this. Tinubu is coming and saying, it feels as if everybody's stressing. And now you're telling us that intelligence report says...
I think it's the nation's peace that is being threatened, because I'm taking... casting my mind back to the Kenya's protest. I know that protest intentions are always to allow or make the government make, certain rules and just get to work. But we know how it usually turn out, and that's really my major fear.
To be honest, does it turn out bad from the protesters or from the police? I was at NSAS protest, I think NSAS 2 years anniversary or something. I ran, they sprayed tear gas in the air. I have a video on my phone. They sprayed water canister, they sprayed the policemen. I was there. They shot a lot of things in the air.
No.
So it's not us, it is not the youth, it is them, right? If protesters are, and if they are protesting peacefully and you are there to safeguard and ensure there's peace and protest, there is peaceful protest on that day or on all the days. I don't think that's a bad thing to do. But we've not started this protest. You feel like we're coming to disrupt Nigeria.
That's the problem. Now, my question is, I don't have much to even say on my newspaper, right? So let me just impute what I want to impute here. Now, if president has come out, because Tinubu has come out to say there's no need for this protest.
Then address the nation.
Coming. Vice president has come out to say it. Dada Olusegun has come out to say, and so many other persons like that are in support of Tinubu regime and all of that has come out to say that there's no need for this protest. We've heard you. Now, do you think there's still a need for it? Now, given that we are not sure, see, tomorrow get belly, according to Eriga, you cannot actually tell what's going to go on August 1st. Right? Let's even scrap this Oro thing, because I feel like that's just a mechanism for them, for us, them just saying that you should not come out and all of this thing, bringing traditional whole thing out, yeah? But do you think there's actually a need? Because, what's the meaning of protest here? Protest is for the government to be aware of the situation on ground, on what we citizens of Nigeria are suffering, right? The problems that we have and how we want it to be addressed. Now, if the same person that we are supposed to speak to, on that, that for the reason why we are doing the protest, they're not already telling you that there's no need for the protest. Do you think there's still need for the protest?
It is more than a year in office. Where's the change? We voted for renewed hope. Where's the hope? It looks as if there's no hope for tomorrow.
And you think
it looks as
protest
if
is going to bring about the hope? Because I already feel and believe that peaceful protest is just like an
it's a waste of time. I feel like everybody should go and sit down, man. Everybody needs to go and sit down.
Uwa says protest does not work in Nigeria.
It doesn't
because
work.
it works in Kenya doesn't mean it will work in Nigeria.
Definitely.
But I feel like people still need to be. I am not a supporter of protest, and I'm not the type of person that will step out to protest.
Let me tell you a better mechanism. There's already a better mechanism. Look at Fabio's style now. Let's see. We should just look for those kind of style. Honestly speaking,
that's not bad.
What style is that? I'm lost here.
Fabio's style. Dragon
session. See, I'm just stating this. Not
but
like
don't you think it looks as if our president does not own a mobile phone, or it looks as if he does not go through his mobile phone?
Who told you that? Even the Akpabio himself told you that his phone crashed. Story that touches their heart, that it was through his wife, Abi. We have to start following those kind of mechanisms. Follow this lover's footsteps. Because the honest truth, this protest thing, just yourself think calm. The reason why I'm doing a protest is for you to be aware of something. Yeah. You by yourself, for yourself. I never do protest. You don't already tell me say no do am, say I don't hear you. What's the need of the protest?
Now me remember from Ransom Kuti. They protested and it worked out.
This
well, let's not dive straight into it.
Right. I think that's do you want to take the
yeah, let me just read out the headline, right? So the story is on the headline, sorry. So under the New York Times, by the left side of the newspaper has 48 hours sprint hosted Harris to top of party. Host teams cascade secured nomination. Then by the right side, we have deriding critics, Netanyahu backs conduct of war. Then addressing Congress, Friend's speech exposes Washington's deep rift over Gaza. Middle of the newspaper has Biden asserts nation needs fresh voices. Next to that, in City of Light Shadows, monument to sport. Then beneath that, we have Iron Lady inspires and strike fear in ruling party. Then next to that is the last headline that says a storied Washington house left vacant in a 22-year battle. So literally, why I feel like there's nothing to say here, because it's just be me repeating myself. It's just about Kamala's journey into, the Democrats having to, they're still yet to know, choose her and all of those. But she's just preparing, since Biden is already stepped down from office. Okay. Then for the Gaza war, we still have the Netanyahu and all of his people, whether they are trying to settle it or not. They are just there, Sha. So that's all I have for the New York Times
All
newspaper.
right, that's all that we're going to take for the headline news this morning. Stay with us. When we return, we'll introduce our guest and the hot topic for today. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Imagine the world where the voices of the youth finally get the spotlight they deserve.
Welcome to Ways Breakfast, the groundbreaking show where young minds unite together to tackle issues that truly matter.
We're flipping the script on traditional morning talk shows, and this is your chance to hear the youth speak out.
We're not just skimming headlines, we're diving deep into the heart of topics that impact us all.
From politics to governance, tech innovations, mental health, and trendy social issues.
We don't just discuss, we ignite conversations that inspire change and spark action.
Join us every morning for fresh, young, and vibrant perspectives
That empowers the next generation to make a difference.
Start your day right with Ways Breakfast, because when the youth speak, the world listens. Ways Breakfast, weekdays at 8 a.m. live on Upgrade TV.
My name is Olawale Ralph Obioha. We offer you a wonderful shopping experience when you come to Olario Furniture. It's safe for you to park here. We have a lot of parking space. It's relaxing. It's peaceful when you come here. And we have all the products that you need. We have the expertise that you need for your interior design process. Just come. This is a one-stop shop for you to design your project, whether hospitality, commercial, or residential. You are at the right place when you come in. We solve all your problems that you have.
It's still Ways Breakfast hashtag what are you saying? If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, what are you waiting for? Please go straight now and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Official Upgrade TV and be part of our conversation. So it's a pleasure to have you back on the show. As mentioned earlier, we'll be talking about the impact of technology on agriculture. The integration of technology into agriculture has revolutionized traditional farming practices, ushering in a new era of efficiency, productivity, and sustainability. From drones and sensors monitoring crop health to AI-driven data analytics, optimizing farming practices, technology is revolutionizing agriculture in unprecedented ways. Joining us to explore how this advancement will revolutionize farming is Moshood Olawale Mustafa, a software engineer. Moshood Olawale Mustafa is a skilled software and machine learning engineer at AirSmart, an agro-based AI company empowering farmers with data-driven insights. He's also a student at the University of Lagos studying surveying and geomatics engineering. Olawale is passionate about the application of artificial intelligence and machine learning to geospatial development and analysis, building scalable and efficient applications that provide solutions to global warming, disaster management, predictions, optimizing agriculture processes, and many other challenges. When he's not busy saving the world with coding, Olawale is enthusiastic about helping churches, charities, and non-profit organizations leverage technology to advance their mission and the kingdom of God. In his free time, Olawale immerses himself in books, podcasts, and self-development courses, always striving to exceed his potential. Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome our guest. First of all,
I was blown away with the intro. It felt as if we're reading is it biography or autobiography now? But was cool. Well done. You've done pretty well for yourself.
Amazing exploits that you've done. How are you feeling this morning?
I'm feeling good.
How's your week been, and what's your plan for the weekend?
My week has been quite a little bit busy, and for the weekend, I think I would love to relax more.
Relax more. Everybody likes to relax.
Your brother said when you're not saving the world. What do you do when you're saving the world? How do you save? Are you some Batman or Spider-Man.
Superhero.
No, not really like that. So when I'm saving the world, it simply means that I'm building like basically tools or applications that help people to like do what they do better. Most especially in the field of agriculture, for instance. Now, so building tools like, for instance, to be able to like detect or predict if something is wrong with a particular crop. Right, so something like that. In another word, you know, we are moving to the era of what's it called now? We are moving to the era of advancement in technology, where we use AI model to like learn things. So I'm busy like training models, right? So simply like building AI.
So you don't do anything for fun. You only save the world.
Like I do things for fun, like watch
Okay.
movies. I watch movies. I read books.
That's what I can
and
relate
all.
with. I don't
Reading
save the
books
world.
is still
I
not
sleep.
fun.
All right, so today's conversation is centered on the impact of technology on agriculture. And as someone who builds apps and build things that help people do their work easy, I think you'll be the best fit for this conversation. So we know that agriculture and farming has evolved over the years. From time past, farmers use simple tools to work and all of that. But now things have evolved. So how have these new tools and methods changed the way farmers work?
Yeah, so the new tools and methods have actually helped farmers to like improve how they grow their crops, how they even see their crops at the initial stage. So we have tools and we have instruments like equipment that help farmers to like know what they need to like do per time. So back then in the days, right, farmers basically just plant and just wait on just the weather, right? They don't know what exactly the weather is. For instance, the water temperature, they don't know it. The, what's it called, humidity, they don't know it. But now we have instruments, we have equipment that can help detect all these things.
Okay.
So in the process, right, the technology has created a comfortable zone for farmers to be able to say, okay, this season I want to plant these particular crops, right? Even though I know this season is the best season to like plant the crops, I can also monitor the rate at which the humidity for that particular crop in the farmland is growing, right? Is it increasing? Is it decreasing? And many other factors like that that can easily be monitored. So it gives them insights that, okay, at this particular point, this is what my plants actually need. For instance, now when you talk about fertilizer, sometimes farmers just like use different fertilizer based on their own like initiative, right?
Okay.
But they don't know what exactly the constituent of the soil at that moment is. We now have technologies that help them to like figure things like that out. So they know, okay, phosphorus is the best fertilizer for this particular crop at this percentage. So that's it.
You know, you said something about seasons. I don't know, is it possible that farmers now manipulate, you know, when they can plant crops? You know, there are sometimes we expect some particular crops to come at a particular season, right? And we have to wait. I'm sure that's how the olden days farmers
Yes,
are.
yes.
But is that what's happening still? Or there's a way they now manipulate it and you can still grow things even when it's not in their season?
That's what is still happening at this point. But the difference now is it is now better. So back then, you know, there have been a lot of pollutions, a lot of situations on ground where the way the farmland is back then, you know, everything is normal. Now we have a lot of pollution up and down. So all these things have affected the land. So it has affected most of all these constituents inside the soil. Right? So you can no longer base what you are doing on, okay, this is the time, this is the season. Even though it is the time, it is the season. You need to know what exactly the constituent of the soil is to like help you to like produce. That's why you hear that farmers plant and at the certain points in time, they probably imagine they will have this crop produce. But at the point where they want to actually get it, they're having lesser. It's because they all base it on the season.
Okay.
No, we can't control the season, right? But we can actually make it better to like increase the crop yield.
That's amazing.
You talked about things, tools, techniques, and I'm curious, what are those tools? What are those techniques? Is that like a stethoscope rather, to test this soil? What are those things that you now do to make farming better?
Okay, so in terms of the tools, we have what we call humidity sensors. We have what we call, what's it called, automatic irrigation systems that automatically like irrigates the farmlands. We have temperature sensors. So these are basically tools, hardware that are inserted all around the farm to like get IoT data. So for instance,
Sorry, by tools? Is it like a chip that's put in the soil, or like, I don't understand?
Yeah, it's an hardware, right? It's an hardware. It's like an equipment.
Okay.
So, for instance, the humidity sensor now is you can even order it online. So when you order it, you connect it to like the internet via its controller. So whenever it is plugged in, all it needs to be plugged into is a soil.
Wow.
So when it is plugged in into the soil,
Like a
right?
sample soil. You don't have to go over to the farm itself.
If you want to monitor real time, you need to go to the farm.
Okay.
And you only need to do it once. That's why we call it IoT sensor based, right? You only need to go to the farm once, right? So once you input it into the soil, it starts taking the readings and it sends it to the controller, and the controller transfers it to wherever you have online. Maybe you want to send it to a server. So basically, I can be here in Nigeria, like Lagos, and I have a farm, let's say Imo State. I can basically monitor with my phone what's the constituent of that particular land is.
Wow.
So I can know the temperature, I can know the humidity, so I can basically say, oh, I can even set alarm. We now have applications that allow us to set alarms, right? So when the temperature is above this particular degree, it means it's not so good for this crop. So it sends an alert to whoever is on the farmland to go and check what's going on, right? So these are what those tools actually help us to do.
Wow.
Wow, that's interesting. Honestly, I didn't know all this.
Farm past
Honestly, no, honestly. So I think since now I don't know all these things yet, I think it's time for us to start teaching our government some certain things, right? So now, how can we address global shortage of food and hunger here in Nigeria? I mean, having the fact and bringing the fact that technology has actually helped agriculture. I mean, looking at the time past and where we are now, you say that there's a lot of growth. So how can we address global hunger?
Okay, so we can actually help the global hunger, right, with more interest in agriculture. I think one of the fundamental issues we have now in Nigeria is that people lack interest in agriculture. The moment they hear about agriculture, their mind goes down to the normal
Tilling the soil
and doing all those hard
Dirty work.
Now we have what we call smart farming. You essentially don't have to do all the hard work again. You just put systems in place, right? You put systems in place that monitor, starting from the moment you are getting the seeds down to the moment you are planting, to the moment the crops are growing, down to when you are actually getting your produce, then shipping the produce to the marketplace, then from the marketplace to whoever you want to sell. All these processes can be monitored. And also, in order to help the global hunger, right, you actually need to put in place also interest in people. Like, for instance, now, a lot of farmers that are still interested, they're having issues with their crop produce. Most of them, all these things are affecting them. So the government needs to actually put in place a system at which people can eventually get all these things at a cheaper price.
Okay.
Right? Like all these instruments, the humidity sensors. Some of these farmers are not even knowledgeable well enough that these things are possible. So one, they need to be educated. Two, they need to put systems and structures in place to make sure that these things are readily available to them.
That's amazing. You know, sometimes I fear fertilized foods. I fear anything that is chemically processed. I like all my stuff natural and all. And I know that if technology is going to impact agriculture, we're going to have to put in that in, sometimes. But then there's the health caution to it. So I don't know, is there any sort of regulation that helps us still maintain good health even as we're trying to make our agriculture better? Because a lot of this technology you're mentioning, fertilizers, there are things that help your crops grow better. Is it really good for us as, persons?
Yes, it is. So there's something we call controlled environment agriculture, right? So in as much as you are using all these fertilizers, right, they are being controlled. That's why we talk about monitoring systems being put in place. So for instance, now you don't exceed a particular limit so as not for you to like put in too much chemical into the crops. You don't exceed some limits. So all these things are being monitored, all these things are being controlled. The influence of technology and fertilizer is just like up the already removed nutrients from the land.
Okay.
Right? A lot of, like I said earlier on, a lot of things are happening to our soil nowadays all over Nigeria, right? Because some of these nutrients has been washed away. Some of these nutrients, as a result of pollution and other climate issues, has been removed from the soil. So what we are doing is we are replacing them. It's not as if we are over adding it to the soil, right? So we are just replacing what has been misplaced from the soil.
What of the ones that they actually try to, I don't know, maybe manipulate stuff to make them look bigger, fresher, and all? Are they also replacing something, or they are just trying to have better output for better sales?
Okay, I think at that point, they are just trying to have like a better output. So another thing that can be put in place is actually a regulation body. So for instance, now, if you are producing, right, they need to know how you are doing your process, what and what you are adding. So if you are producing, let's say, for instance, tomato, with the advancement of technology, you can keep firm record of how you have actually produced that particular tomato, the chemical constituents, the percentage of each of it. Okay. So the regulation body is just meant to like go through all these. So when they figure out that, okay, you have added too much fertilizer to this thing, then they like flag it.
Okay.
So that is one of the ways that we can actually curb things like adding too much chemicals and fertilizers to like have a bigger produce, so you can sell to people against their health.
One thing I love about our Friday shows is the fact that I feel like I'm in Agri 101 class. I feel so like I'm learning.
Very expository.
Which is interesting. We talk about AI, we talk about artificial intelligence, which is AI, innovations and all of that. You talked about farming and how they've been using different tools. How has AI been contributing to the entire farming system? We know when it comes to branding, when it comes to UI, UX, they use it for maybe research, market survey and all of that. But what do they use it for when it comes to farming?
Okay, so when we talk about artificial intelligence, we actually have different aspects of artificial intelligence. Okay. So let me start with the machine learning aspect, right? So the machine learning aspect is an aspect that helps us to like actually train models. So for instance, there are a lot of diseases and pests happening to the different crops, and most of these farmers are not well educated enough to even identify what that particular disease or pest is, right? So imagine a situation where you can pick up your phone, then take a picture of that particular crop, maybe that leaf, and you input it into an app, and the app tells you what that pest is, like that disease. It tells you the solution to it, and it tells you the recommended process to like remove it from your particular plants, right? So that is what machine learning is currently used for. Way more than that, we also have another side called data science, right? So data science can help with analytics. For instance, now, if you ask an average farmer that this particular season that you have planted, let's say rice seed, right? What is your expected produce at the end of this season? Most of them don't know it. And these are things we need to like be able to like predict, to have understanding of, okay, Nigeria produces so percentage in the world, overall world estimates, right? Okay. So these are things that data science helps us to do. So you take readings, you starting from your produce, okay, I have so number of seeds. These are things that I have put in place to like grow my seed. You calculate, there are a lot of mathematical stuff behind it. So you calculate all these things and be able to predict that, okay, I should have nothing less than this number of produce right at the end. So if it is not meeting up to that, you know something is wrong in your system. And also this helps banks, right? This also helps bank. That's some of the app. We have an app called Farm Manager in my company. So we are currently partnering with banks. So it helps banks to like monitor all these things. Banks no longer want to give farmers money, right? They no longer want to give farmers money because they are not sure. You can come back and tell them so things happen, blah, blah. But what of a system where they can track the number of produce, they can track the number of seed. When you tell them that, oh, I bought 5,000 seeds, in your record, it has to be 5,000.
Okay.
And they are going to have agents that goes and confirm what is happening, right? So these are things that AI, and from there, even banks can actually use AI to like build a model and do that. Okay, we have 1,000 farmers working with us. Yeah. Out of these 1,000 farmers, these are what they have been achieved, right? So all these things are things that helps us to like predict determine what we are doing, because I feel many a times we really don't know what we are doing. Still, we don't
What
know
a way
what we
to
are doing. So
land.
with this in place, we can actually say this is exactly what we are doing.
That's a very, very pivotal point, but you have to take a short break. Now, when we return, we'll look through the dynamics of agriculture and technology. Very interesting conversation. So, viewers, stay with us. We'll be right back shortly. Welcome back, viewers. We are still looking at the impact of technology on agriculture, and we have a guest who has been doing justice to it. And we have realized that there's a whole lot of knowledge gap, and we trust that you're gaining knowledge and spreading the news to everyone. So, God's Beauty have a question. Let's have it.
Okay, yeah. So most times, if you listen to the previous, now I'm saying previous because with all of these things you've said, you see that there's a whole lot of progress in the agricultural space when it comes to technology, yeah? So now how can we take care of or address the challenges that climate change has or on the impact of agriculture here in Nigeria? Because if you listen to farmers, you always hear them complain of social climate. Now you talk about the nutrients too, even the soil, right? It has issues, and like just give us extensively how we can take care of curb these challenges that climate change have on us.
Okay, so when it comes to climate change, right, there are different ways at which it affects farmers and agriculture in general, right? And one of it is actually the carbon emission. So currently, globally, there's something going on called carbon sequestration. So this is actually a process at which they are trying to like remove carbon from the atmosphere, right? And in order for this to eventually happen, farmers are needed, right? So how does this eventually work? So basically, there are systems that are like technology that have been put in place to like absorb carbon from the atmosphere, right, into the soil, right, in the land. So now farmers need to also know that, okay, for this particular farmland, I have so percentage of carbon, right? So it can offset this percentage of carbon from the atmosphere. Currently, this is not in Nigeria as of now, but it's part of things that we are working on, right, to like bring it down to Nigeria. It's part of the technology that we are working on to bring it down to Nigeria. So apart from that, right, also farmers need to understand the carbon emission from the beginning of their process down to the end, right? So if you have, let's say, like you have about 10 trucks that is helping you to deliver your produce from the farmland to whichever market. There's also something that we call carbon emission calculation, that each company is not mandatory in the European states, right? But here in Nigeria, they're still like bypassing it and all of that. But if we enforce it, so we'll be able to know this particular, each company emits so amount of carbon. Then you'll be asked the question, this carbon that you are emitting, can you offset it? Do you have a way of removing it from the atmosphere? If no, you'll be charged to pay a particular amount of money to other companies that have the capability to like offset it. These are what they do to like reduce the carbon emission in the European countries. So I feel if we put these systems in place here in Nigeria, it's going to like help us also. Then also, when the farmers understand how the climate is changing, that's why they need to like really be in the gap to understand how this climate is changing, what is causing this climate to like change, they will also know how to like strategically position themselves to like help them achieve more and increase their produce.
Very, very insightful. I'm just wondering, the way you've mentioned all these things that are used to help our crops, help farmers and all, I'm thinking of the financial costs. And I'm considering small-scale farmers. I know big farmers and, people that they produce in large quantity, they could probably afford it. But can you give us an insight to how it is financially? Is it very affordable for people to use? I mean, small-scale farmers. Because who knows, a small-scale farmer can be listening to this now and is wondering, this is not for me. Let me just keep doing my normal process.
And all of that.
Actually, for small-scaled farmers, most of these things at the early stage, because of the issues we have in Nigeria, are not so cheap for them to like obtain them. But on the other side, what they can do, and that's why we are actually like pushing towards the government and banks putting systems in place whereby these guys can come and get some funds to support themselves, guys. So at the point of getting the funds, they also like give all these equipment and also educate them on how to like use it. So that's one of the ways at which we are thinking about using to like help small-scaled farmers.
Yeah.
Also, I feel most farmers belongs to different organizations in Nigeria, like you will hear Cocoa something Association of Nigeria and stuff like that. This association, as an association, can come together, right? And they can just do maybe on a yearly basis or on a monthly basis, give out a number, right, to some farmers and also help them to figure out, okay, if we give this to you, you need to like achieve this. That's why I talked about the data, the analytics. They need to know exactly what they are doing. So when they give you a particular equipment or something, they know that, okay, at the end of 6 months, at the end of 1 year, this person is going to, and you also will be able to now help another person. Like those are ways at which you can basically help out with small-scale farmer being able to achieve all these things.
Interesting. We've been speaking about farming. Livestock is also a part of farming. I mean, rearing animals, rearing all of that, they're also a part of farming. I have an insight about broilers. They oftentimes die. You can start with 30 broilers, and before it's time for maturity, like 15 has died, 10 has died. How has tech, or what can tech do to help with training chickens, turkey, even cow, even goats, I mean, and so they don't die abruptly like that? What are we doing? Yes, we understand they are now vet doctors. They come at intervals, they give them injections, they feed them drugs in their mouths. I've seen a lot of them, but why do they still die? And what can you do to help on all of this?
Okay, why do they still die? I strongly believe that's a result of the infection spreading, right, within the livestock. So basically, when it comes to livestock specifically now, we have a technology that helps to like monitor these livestock, like a kind of a camera sensor. So maybe in the place where these livestock are located, right, there are sensors, there are cameras that can identify, basically count. Maybe at the point where they are entering into their cage, it basically counts and it knows if anyone is missing, right? But when it comes to, in particular to the disease, this has to like, it's going to be a long process to like achieve. Why do I say that? Because we need, just like crops and plants, where we can take pictures and we are going to use these pictures to like train a model to identify it. Same thing can actually go on with the livestock, but it's going to take a whole lot of time and also the data. When it comes to all those data, we don't have it readily available here in Nigeria. So, and farmers are not really like, livestock breeders are not really interested in like giving such data out because they don't even have it. So you have to like train them on how to like get those data. But I believe strongly if these data can actually be provided, we can train models that will most likely be able to identify if at any point a particular livestock has a disease on it, right? And it's going to like help. Then there is another aspect of technology. This one has to be like more biological, like the genetical aspect. So when the vet guys, when they come in, right, and they do their whole stuff of investigating and all of that, right, they detect something. You know, when we have laboratories and systems put in place, I believe strongly that advancements in the science field, right, can help them to know how to like figure out things, like how are they evolving. So if this particular livestock has a particular disease, how long does it take for it to spread? So because if they know that, they will be able to know that, see, once you see any symptoms on one of your livestock, right, guy, it's going to spread in 4 days to like about 8 others. So if they know these things, they can actually reduce it. So these are ways technology can help out.
I'm so sorry, God's Beauty.
Go on.
You talked about partnering with big farmers association and partnering with banks. Have we considered partnering with real estate moguls? Because right now we've seen real estate people say, oh, come and buy land in Ekwe, we'll plant pineapple for you. And in a space of 3 months, 9 months, 3 years, we'll be paying you every year. You have a land, you also have a farm. So have you thought of introducing this entire thing to all these real estate moguls that does real estate and farming? So let's see if they are aware of this AI tech thing in the farming space, they could also introduce them to their clients. And if it's already getting to their clients, in no time, everybody will be aware of this.
As of now, no. The answer to that is no. I don't think I've ever considered it until now that you are talking about
She's
it. But
giving you an
I think
idea.
moving forward,
Light bulb.
moving forward, it's something that we'll probably go back and consider.
We look forward to that.
Very amazing.
Definitely. So speaking to looking forward to, yeah, I would like to hear your input on what you look forward to, because, I mean, just like she said, agriculture is actually broad. There are so many other things that we're not speaking on. I was watching a video where you see that we don't even need drivers to actually drive you to anywhere you're going to. I think in America.
Autonomous.
Yeah. So I'm very sure there should be something like that too in agriculture. Is there?
This is Nigeria.
In Nigeria,
no.
What's
But
the
in
developing?
European, they are
They
working
have.
on some things.
Oh,
yes.
wow. Okay, so it is just me saying, what part of the agriculture do you think needs to be worked on technological now?
Yeah. To also answer that question, when you talk about autonomous, guys, like cars driving by themselves, so if we want to apply that to agriculture, we'll most likely look at things like hydroponics, right, whereby you don't need soil to actually plant a crop.
Okay.
So it uses water solution. All the constituent that is needed in a soil has already been imputed into the water and stored in a controlled environment where you have your light, not sun now, like an actual light bulb regulated to a particular temperature. You have, what's it called? You have different things, right? But these things are not well figured out in Nigeria as of now, because it's quite expensive. The energy to even power the whole stuff is very, very expensive.
And is it all kind of crops like that can actually bring out? I doubt.
Yes, I
kind?
think so. Yes, it
Wow.
should. It should be all kind.
Honestly, as we're having this conversation, I'm just thinking of the economic situation of the country, especially with food, which falls under agriculture. We know how expensive things are. And sometimes I hear people say it's this expensive because of transportation, having to bring it from the north over here because they are the ones that are planting it, right? You hear people say some particular crops don't grow in our environment, in the west or in the south. It will be from the north. And then there's the cost of petrol. So bringing everything, food supply and food chain now becomes quite impossible and makes the economic situation terrible. I want to ask very sincerely, even though I know you say in Nigeria, but do you think that technology can play a very good role to help food supply and food chain better?
Well,
Nigeria.
let me say in Nigeria, because they're actually in Nigeria. So I think, yes, technology can help with the food chain, right? So first, when it comes to transportation, right, we need to look at a system of reducing the cost of transportations for these farmers. Maybe there'll probably be a body that helps with stuff like that. Because these farmers have done a lot, planting the seed, monitoring it, getting the produce. So if you have maybe a body that is actually in charge of going to these farms, transporting it from the farmland to the market. Now, in the process of transportation, we are going to have, this is where technology now comes in more, right? We are still going to have monitoring devices that can still monitor the, the temperature and all of that, right? Because at the moment of, you know, you buy some stuff and they will tell you, the instruction says keep in a cool, dry place, right? The same thing is applicable to all these produce, right? Maybe at the point of transporting, because you are transporting in, let's say, a very sunny environment, and it's not so good for it. Before you transport for like 8 hours, something has been happening to all these
perishable
things. Yeah, so something has. So when we have these systems put in place whereby you can successfully transport your produce in a well-monitored environment, and by the time it gets to the marketplace, there are going to be like some other checks for it that, okay, what and what is happening? Okay, this thing is still. So at that point, you will even be able to sell at a very good price rate, and not that they will tell you something is wrong with these aspects, so your price from maybe like, let's say 20,000, we reduce like 15,000.
But wait, what if we even take away this whole transport thing? And you know, like I said, we have the mentality. I think I've heard people say that some plants or some things can only grow there. You mentioned one hydroponics.
Yeah,
is it possible that we can have it around, so that we can plant crops that are, we have to think of the northerners to help us bring, so that at least that transportation cost is taken away and we have easy accessibility to this?
Yeah, it's possible, but another question is the money.
Why are we not talking about insecurity challenges?
God bless you. Hi, you just took it out from my mouth.
Why are we not talking about people? Because we interviewed a yam seller recently. She said they pay to harvest, they pay to load, they pay, just a yam seller, they pay to transport from one village in the north to another village, not talk of bringing it down here. So we want all of this interesting, sweet, innovations, love it. But we're not talking about insecurity challenges. We can set this robot to be driving and bringing. It's not they kidnap robots and God bless you. Because it looks as if you just say, okay, robot's gone missing and it will be in the news. But yeah, that's not even my question. My question is, tomato is gradually becoming the new gold. I mean, and we've seen it on X space. You need to learn how to plant tomato in your backyard. We know this is Lagos. Most of us don't have the luxury of having a soil. Teach us how to plant tomato, maybe in a bucket, and how to monitor with this tech thing. Let's see. Yes, we know that we might end up eating all our harvest in one stew. Yes, we know that. But teach us how to grow tomatoes from, like,
heard that it's expensive. If you mention some things now, how are we going to be able to go back?
Well, actually, I
you talked about some apps, so maybe that can work, like Farm Manager, like you mentioned, maybe it can work.
Okay, so for instance, now let's consider tomato, right? So if you want to go the route of tomato, you need to like at least get the seed, right? Then get, if you want to do like a soil-based own, right? Because the soilless is quite expensive, to be sincere. So, but if you have a land, maybe in your backyard, that you plan initially to use for this, you can actually use it to plant. Then you can now get like a moisture sensor. Immediate, at least these things are fairly cheap. Not so cheap, but at least fairly
cheap. Give us a price range.
Yeah.
In case I want to go into
dollars increase.
Use the farmer one. We'll just increase it by 10%.
Well, I can't sincerely. I can't really, because it's been a while, right? It's been a while since like we got one. But basically, you get these sensors and you just input it. So it will be able to like monitor for you the temperature of that particular soil, the humidity, that's the water constituents, right? Then what's it called? The heat in that environment. You can also use heat sensors to like detect that. So you know at some point that, okay, this, and of course before you even plant, you need to be well knowledgeable enough about your tomato, right? What and what you need to like look out for and all of that. So I believe you can definitely do all that within your house, at least for subsistence farming.
But Lagos houses does not come with soil.
Exactly. It's
I mean,
for those that have farm. It's not for those that have
well, except I'm staying in Mowe for side. It does not come with soil. Everywhere is coated, cemented, and all of this.
In fact, the tight spaces we have in Lagos now.
Do you get some of us park on the streets? Is that bad?
Well, I think that's why we talk about all these hydroponics, vertical farming, whereby you can just like plant your crops. Increasing the height rather than spreading it horizontally. So at least you'll be able to like manage your space. So those things can actually be done too.
I want to know, just like as we're about to conclude and all, people like you are in the forefront of having, agriculture become easy and seamless for people. But we know that there are a lot of factors and structures that can make this even possible. And then we're looking at higher authorities, we're looking at the government, we're looking at, laws and regulations. Do you think, do you people have like a body sort of that clamors for these things? Bodies that reaches out to these authorities that can make them be much more interested in it, and then we can see the change that we desire? Or are you just doing it within?
There is necessarily not a body as of now. I think some bodies are actually just these associations, then the National Federation of Agriculture and all of that. But to even get access to them is where some of these issues are, right? So everyone is just like, at least the companies that I know working in this industry are just like trying to like survive, because sometimes when you ask for, okay, let me talk about this, right? Okay. There is this fear of technology taking over some things. Yes, obviously, some of these processes are going to like be caught of like some redundancy in the process, and there are some people that is what they use in making their money, right? So there is this fear that if all these things are put in place, right, there is going to be removal of all those things. Then also maybe you have probably been misusing what has been given to you, and lying on climate, lying on weather, lying on the soil. All those things will now be very transparent because they can just see it on the system. So you no longer have a way to like give any excuse for not meeting up to what you have actually promised, right? So all these things are fears that some people have, right? And when you propose things like this to them, you will just hear no. Even though the owner of the farmland might actually be interested, but the people in support. So I feel there is need for like more publication and education, educating people about all these things, so they are going to like be aware of it, right? And government has a lot of roles to like play.
Do we still have like a minute?
Just one question.
Quickly, what's the future of agriculture? Are we still going to keep having alagbaro, marketer, those long chain? What's the future of agriculture?
To me, I would say the future of agriculture is bright, because Nigeria, whether we like it or not, agriculture is still what we are going back to, because we really need to produce things by ourselves, right? And everybody needs to eat. Even me, I need to eat, right? So definitely. And this food chain process, right, I feel it's going to, if all these things can actually be put in place, it can become shorter and more like better. It can be shorter and better compared to the long process that we used to have.
This has been a very, very insightful conversation from Monday through to Friday. It has been so insightful right here on Ways Breakfast. Till next week, please stay with us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, be part of everything that we're doing here. I see you again Monday by 8 a.m. Have a great weekend. Bam, bam, bam.